So, have you ever actually stopped and wondered how we're supposed to confront the massive, ultimate unknown of life's end? It's a huge question, especially when you're in ninth grade and really just starting to figure out your own path in the world. Well, today we're going to look at a deeply comforting 19th century alternative perspective to the fear that usually surrounds this whole topic.
Welcome to today's Explainer. I am so incredibly excited to be your English literature guide as we embark on a really special lesson. Today, our guided voyage is going to take us right through one of the absolute most famous poems of the Victorian era, Crossing the Bar by Alfred Lord Tennyson.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our itinerary for today's Explainer. First, meet Alfred Lord Tennyson. Second, setting sail, poem background. Third, the departure, stanzas 1 and 2. Fourth, the journey, stanzas 3 and 4. And fifth, themes and final message.
Section 1. Meet Alfred Lord Tennyson, the captain of our journey.
Now, I don't want you thinking of him as just some dusty historical figure in a textbook. Think of him as the legendary captain of our upcoming literary voyage. Tennyson was literally one of the giants of his time. He served as the poet laureate of Great Britain and Ireland for over 4 decades, from 1850 all the way to 1892. And what's really fascinating about the context of this poem is that he wrote this poignant farewell in 1889, just 3 years before he passed away. He was 80 years old, and get this, he actually composed it in a single sitting while on a ferry crossing the Solent Strait. He felt so strongly about this piece that he specifically requested it be placed at the very end of all future collections of his poetry. It is quite literally his final word.
Section 2. Setting sail, poem background and setting.
Before we actually read the text, we really need to prepare ourselves to understand the environment Tennyson is building here. This is a lyric poem made up of exactly 16 lines. They're arranged into 4 stanzas with an A-B rhyme scheme. And the brilliant thing is, the entire poem functions as one giant extended metaphor. It doesn't just have a physical setting, it has a deeply symbolic one too.
Think about the incredible contrast going on here. Physically, we're at the edge of the sea, at a harbor, during those quiet transitional hours of twilight. The atmosphere is totally calm, the sea is still, there are no crashing waves. But symbolically, that twilight represents the end of life or old age. The mood is entirely peaceful and accepting. There's zero fear, no sadness, and no regret whatsoever. The physical quietness of the harbor is perfectly mirroring the spiritual peace of the poet.
Section 3. The departure, stanzas 1 and 2.
So now that our scene is beautifully set, we're ready to begin our line-by-line voyage. But wait, before we read that first line, we absolutely need to secure an important piece of 19th century nautical vocabulary. What exactly is the bar? Well, the title refers to a sandbar, which is just a built-up of sand at the mouth of a harbor where it finally meets the ocean. In this poem, crossing that bar is the ultimate symbol for leaving the safety of the known world and venturing out into the eternal unknown. It's the boundary between life and death.
Keep that massive boundary in your mind as we listen to the opening lines. Sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me, and may there be no moaning of the bar when I put out to sea.
Let's decode that beautiful imagery together. Tennyson opens with the sunset, which, is a classic metaphor for the final stage of life. Then he hears a clear call, a summons from God or fate. But notice the exclamation mark there. He isn't terrified, he's actually welcoming it. Finally, he asks that there be no moaning of the bar. See, when seas are rough, waves crash really loudly and mournfully against a sandbar. Tennyson is hoping for a quiet, undisturbed passing, without the rough waters of pain or the weeping of mourning.
The voyage continues so gently into stanza 2. But such a tide as moving seems asleep, too full for sound and foam, when that which drew from out the boundless deep turns again home.
Right here, he expands on that heartfelt wish for a peaceful departure. He envisions a tide so incredibly full and deep that it moves silently without any noisy crashing or foam. It literally seems asleep. This is symbolizing a painless death. But honestly, the most beautiful part is that second half, that which drew from out the boundless deep. That is his soul. He views the infinite, eternal realm of God as his soul's origin. So crossing the bar isn't some scary, terrible end. It's just a gentle return to where he came from. It's a homecoming.
Section 4. The journey, stanzas 3 and 4.
Let's see how this builds in the second half of the poem, right where the twilight begins to fade and the true spiritual voyage takes over. Tennyson writes, twilight, an evening bell, and after that the dark. And may there be no sadness of farewell when I embark.
As that light fades away, we hear the evening bell, representing the church or funeral bell that signals the final hour. After that comes the complete dark, which is death itself. But again, look at his calm acceptance. He is about to embark, boarding this ship into eternity, and his primary concern is actually for the people he's leaving behind. He compassionately asks that there be no sadness of farewell. He's wishing comfort for his loved ones so they just aren't overcome by grief.
Okay, we're about to hit the climax of the poem, but we need one more quick vocabulary anchor. The word bourne. A bourne is simply a boundary or a limit. Tennyson uses it here to describe the physical world we currently live in, a world that is strictly defined by time and place.
With that worldly limit in mind, let's read the final stanza. For though from out our bourne of time and place the flood may bear me far, I hope to see my pilot face to face when I have crossed the bar.
Let's connect the dots on that nautical metaphor one last time. The flood is the powerful tide carrying his soul far, far away from the living world. But look really closely at the word pilot. Notice that capital P? A pilot's job is to guide a ship safely through difficult, treacherous waters. For Tennyson, the pilot is God. His deepest, most profound hope, after passing completely over that sandbar and leaving the physical boundary of time and space, is a direct, face-to-face encounter with his Creator. It just ends on this note of absolute, unshakable faith.
Section 5. Themes and Final Message.
Now that we've totally completed our line-by-line reading, let's distill everything we've analyzed into the core themes of this masterpiece. Throughout this explainer, we've seen several universal themes woven right into the text. Death is reframed entirely as a peaceful journey, guided by deep faith and hope. We see the spiritual concept of the soul's return, marked by this incredible acceptance and serenity from the poet. And tying the whole shebang together is the cycle of life. By using natural imagery like the sunset, the twilight, and the ocean tide, Tennyson perfectly illustrates that life and death aren't opposing forces. They are interconnected, natural cycles, exactly like a tide that goes out and must eventually return.
So what's the big takeaway? The absolutely crucial point here is Tennyson's central message to us. The end of life shouldn't be feared or resisted. It's a natural transition. He encourages us to face the unknown with peace, dignity, and faith, reminding us that death is not an ending at all, it's simply a homecoming. And this brings us right back to where we started. But now it's your turn to reflect. For all of you ninth graders learning how to navigate the complex, crazy world ahead, this poem carries a massive life lesson about courage and perspective. Just like a sailor trusts the tides and the pilot to guide them safely through deep waters, we all need something to anchor us. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. How can trusting your own pilot, whether that's a religious faith, a strong set of personal values, or a philosophical purpose, how can that help you navigate the great uncertainties in your own life? Take that question with you today. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible voyage through Tennyson's beautiful work.